What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing today? So, the thing that I've been hinting at for the last few streams, finally out. I want to introduce to you guys Stashbag Volume 1. So this is a collection of 300 plus samples and loops for psytrance. I guess the main focus here is quickly throwing together an intro. So in the last few streams, I kind of just had an intro ready to go, and that was basically just a bunch of the stuff that I had been working on for this pack. So the idea behind it is to basically be able to just select a bunch of the stuff that's in the key that you're working in and throw together a good sounding intro. And then all you need to do is add some drums for your, obviously your main part, a bass, but I've even included like bass one shots and everything here. So there's a bunch of bonuses and stuff here, like rises and all sorts of things. So it's pretty much everything you need except drums, because obviously like I do the drum pack as well. So yeah, extra bass one shots and everything. So you can pretty much just like add in a melody or some kind of like your own idea. And this is supposed to be a bunch of, let's say, like backbone samples of atmospheres, a bunch of Duduk recordings that I've created, flutes, a bunch of stuff. So yeah, now that that's out the way, this video, I don't want to focus like entirely on just like showing you guys the stuff here. Hey, how's it going? Schleppen, Isomatic, Mindbee, Cider. I want to talk about techniques for creating intros and breakdowns and themes and that kind of thing, because I feel like that's more useful to you guys. I just happen to have stuff here that I can use as examples. I'll just put it that way. Snow Metal Music, how you doing? So yeah, I've created this little loop here. This is going to be like the beat part, and I'm not going to focus too much on this today. I kind of, like I said, just want to focus in on key techniques for intros, sort of good ways to structure them, breakdowns, how to transition into breakdowns, and that kind of stuff, and how to quickly create that for something that you might have already. Because I'm sure you guys have tons and tons of this. Just a loop that's looking for context, right? we all have tons of these lying around on our hard drives. So anyway, let me show you what we've created so far. Actually, here's something funny. Quite a while back, I started a stream actually with a similar melody, and because I have this kind of folder of MIDIs that I just drag from MIDIs that I've created, not packs or anything. It's just random. When I create an ARP and I like it, I just drag it in here. And so as I was about to start up, I was like, wait a sec, I'm pretty sure I've used this exact one and even started a stream with it as well. So what I actually ended up doing is just selecting the notes here and reversing them. So like the order of the notes is reversed. So if I go like this, you'll probably recognize this now more. So if you're ever in that position where you're like, oh damn, I've used this thing before, you can kind of like put it into a new context, like breathe some new life into it by just like reversing the order. So the bottom notes are staying the same. So rhythmically, it's kind of the same thing. It has the same cadence, I guess. But it's just the order of the top notes has changed. So it kind of like where the dramatic elements are in the melody changes a little bit. That's basically it. Anyway, then I made some FM stabs here, just like 2 layers of the same sound with just different filters and stuff on them. And then kick and bass. So the pack even contains percussion loops. So like I said, you know, I was talking about the drums thing earlier. I lied a little bit. There is some drums in here, some fills and loops and that kind of thing, but no single one-shot drums. So kicks and that kind of thing, those are all in the drum pack, right? But here, this is one of the loops from the pack. So I usually like to combine my main percussion stuff in a track with a loop. I feel like it just fills it up a little bit better. So for example, if we just had like a main hat and a clap here, it would sound a bit empty without that loop kind of like keeping the rhythm going. So we're just going to do a little bit of loop building and then get into the intro stuff. We got to know where we're going, right? With loops and stuff, I usually like to use ducks. I'll just sprinkle some ducks on there. Quack, quack, quack. Hey, Glyph, how's it going? So this can be used to kind of like differentiate the loop a little bit, so you can kind of make it sound a little bit different every time, but also you can use it to kind of shift a loop into to fit the groove of your track a little bit better, right? You see there, we can kind of use it to just shift like the accent if we wanted here. I felt like here it kind of grooves a bit nicer though with the accent on the off beat. It's also a nice way of combining a bunch of loops. So like, let's say for example, let's throw in some loops here. Oh wait, this is loading them as sampler channels. What am I doing here? Let's just drop it like this and then drag it in. Put some goose on it. So now we can use this to accent like a different part in each of the loops, so you can kind of like fit them together. So then this one, for example, we can do the same thing, but then accent the last of the 16ths, right? So we'll like accent this note here. Wait. Oh, this loop is 145, so I've just got to punch this in here. Is it this channel? Yeah, this channel. Let's go here. Set this to repitch. Tempo 145. And then it should, yep. We could essentially just be chopping up the loop and arranging it that way, but I feel like here, especially with these kind of more fuller loops, you kind of hear the mix, so it just feels a little bit more natural, right? So let's actually just solo this. It'll probably sound more like a single loop than if we had to do that and chop it and put a bunch of loops together, you know what I mean? That you can often hear it's a bit choppy. Use your Bitwig presets for delay and reverb. Do you mean send and returns? So generally speaking, I will use this for a quick option. So let's say, for example, I want to hear what the medium sounds like. I'll use it, but then I actually don't like to use it too much because let's say, for example, we wanted to bounce this down to an audio file. It doesn't take that into account, right? Nor does it take in, if you render out the group, for example, it doesn't take that effect with it. So I've actually just created literally the same thing, but in a Bitwig effect rack, right? So this is FX layer, and it's got one layer is dry, and then it's the same presets that I've used here, which is Valhalla Supermassive, just 3 instances with some EQs and that kind of thing. And so I can then take these settings and recreate it here. So for example, if I'm like playing around, I'm like, oh, you know, this sounds good with a little bit of small and a little bit of medium, then I just recreate it here, and then I can render it out and bounce it out as a sample. So I just feel like working with it as an audio effect is much cleaner for workflow, but having it here, I like the option, right? And I kind of did this for a while and then found the settings that I wanted, like, and then made this, right? So yeah. Sorry, was that even what you were asking? Okay, so let's start crafting an intro that we can use to lead into this. So usually the first thing that I will do is insert the time ruler. They change things a bit with the Bitwig 6, so I'm still getting used to it. Like the placement of where things are in this menu. And then we can move this to later on in the track, usually between, I guess depending on the type of arrangement that we're going to want to use. I'll usually put this between 2 minutes and 3 minutes. Like if we've already created like the drop, right, then I'll put it like a bit further forward. But this is more like a starting point for a drop. So I won't quite put it like at the drop, right? You'll usually find Sidetrans tracks have about, I guess it's, intro times have shortened and shortened and shortened over the years, but you'll usually find it around like 40 to 50 seconds, maybe a minute. So it's good to aim around there for when you want the beat to drop, right? And then think like, okay, do I want a little break before that, or you know, think about like how you want to arrange it like from there. Whether you wanted to just build up into a kick and bass, or do like a build up into silence and then like a vocal and then the drop. What we can also do is shift things along here and then kind of just use the time as a guideline, and it won't be exact. So for example, we'll just add a minute now, you know, to the arrangement, and then that gives us the ability to shift things back if we want to, or you know, that kind of thing. I believe we can add but I still haven't figured out how exactly it works. Add time before, or no. Anyway, like I said, I'm still getting used to all the new features in Bitwig 6. So we can start building backwards from here. Like say, for example, we want to drop into just the beat, no percussions. We can move these along here and then start creating an intro here. Usually, like I usually like to have a bit like a build and then sort of a little bit of silence or something, some kind of melody or something that then echoes out into the kick and bass. So what we can actually do is start it here. because then that gives us one bar and then a bar of like fade in, right? So for example, we could have some kind of sweep or something leading into the intro. Okay, so I'm just going to add a group track here, and then I'm just going to start throwing ideas into the group track, and that's going to be how we'll start to craft the intro. Because the samples are loud, I'm going to start off by just putting the group to -10. And yeah, let's find an Atmos. We're working in G, I think. Yes. Okay, so I guess we could just copy all the G, just throw it in, but we'll only need one or two. You'll see, like, the way that I've kind of designed these is most of them work together. You can play around with them, reverse them, do all sorts of things as well, because I've tried to leave them as raw as possible, but still sort of high quality, if that makes sense. So not like over processed. That one's a bit full. Yeah, actually we can do that. Let's do that. That can be a nice bed for the overall intro. Let's drop that in here. We can actually, you see this has this tail fading out here. What if we use that as like the sweep in? Because we got this bar here, we can use this tail as like a sweep in. Because you can see like the sound only really starts there. Cool, that's already sounding amazing. Here we can actually jump in and edit the gain so that we have like a clean sweep going in like this. Nice. Okay. I think here we also need a sub impact. Boom. Can maybe add a bit of extra reverb to that. Let's find a splash effect. This one's nice and bright. We can actually maybe use this as another sweep in. I like to use splashes as sweeps, but just reversing them. Often find though when doing this, you do have to turn it down. For some reason, they sound much louder when they're backwards. I don't know why that is. Hey, finally caught the live stream. Welcome, welcome. Hey, what's up, Andrew J? Okay, let's look for some sweeps in G. Oh yeah, those are sweeps in the key of X. That's pretty good as like a could even time that here on the hit, almost like as a Brahm, you know, cinematic kind of trumpety thing. Oh yes, classic. It's gonna be that one. Okay, then here I think we need some kind of splash. Does this Atmos come in here? Is that sounding good? Yep, and then some kind of splash here maybe, to signify that we're now in a new part of this whole thing. Maybe we can start bringing in like a drum loop or something here. Oh, I happen to choose the same sample there. And so you can kind of hear it's quite obvious. It's like whoosh, whoosh. I think that sounds much better. That's kind of like a splash combined with the downlifter, and then there's more traditional, bunch of more traditional downlifters in the pack as well. And that could be cool here. We need an uplifter here as well. Oh yeah, so I guess one of the main things here is all the duduk and flute recordings and stuff. So these are also great to just slap in there, add a little bit of theme to the intros. I guess this is already sounding quite full, but I mean, let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. Okay, that one I think I did use in the last stream, so let's just skip over. I just chose the first one. Oh wait, I think I used 1 and 2. I think I used 1 and 2. Maybe we can put some extra reverb on this one. Key of G. We're in the key of G. you know what could be pretty cool here is let's bounce a part of this kick and bass loop, and then we can just use this as a filter during this intro here. So at the part where it splashes, like I think it's here, we have that sort of splash effect. So with these kinds of things, I'll usually, if I'm going from a low pass filter and sweeping upwards, there's often quite a big boost in the low frequencies. So I'll often just cut them out because they're a little bit unnecessary, and there's also quite a bit of other low frequencies and stuff happening in this part anyway. So we don't want this, the subs here or the bass part here to overshadow when the kick and bass actually drop in, right? I totally forgot to include like these melodies and stuff we were creating earlier. Oh my word. Let's see. Have you ever tried working on a Mac? I don't know, making music or maybe editing a video. Not in a very long time on that kind of level. I mean, my girlfriend has a Mac, so sometimes I'll just like, it's not her, it's actually a work thing. My Mac is so old now that I haven't been able to update the operating system in so long. I actually just run Windows on it. Sacrilege. But I'm mainly a Windows person, to be honest. Sick. I usually just sidechain just about everything. I'll use a send return to bypass the sidechain at times when I want the elements not to duck. Is there a better way to bypass sidechain momentarily? Well, you could use the actual kick channel. Is that not an option? So I've actually been switching back to this. This is the my older template here, but in most of my newer projects I've actually switched over to duck, and here you can actually set this to sidechain, but also MIDI, so you can trigger it from another MIDI channel if you want to. But here sidechain, and then just grabbing the input from the actual kick channel. But then what I'll do is I will take it from the kick group. So let's say, for example, I decide to, no, we want it on the pre. I'll explain why now in a moment. So we want it on the pre because now if we change the level, it might not trigger anymore. So you want it pre there. And also the reason you don't want to send it directly from the kick channel is if you load a different kick, then you have to change your whole setup. So it's best to just always put the kick in a group and send the group to your sidechains, right? But then here, what it does is when it hears a kick, it just restarts and it ends on this top. So if you set this last node here right up to the top, then it'll always be full amplitude, except when it receives a signal. You might have to just adjust this. I actually have to put in a kick here so that we and send this to the thing so we can actually hear it. But I'll make an example quick with this FM stabs here. I'll just send this whole group to Big Verb. See, then when the kick stops, we hear the full reverb tail. I hope that answers that question. Pushing the delay feedback to just over 100% temporarily and then pulling it back down again is such a nice way of creating these kind of like echoey atmospheres. My favorite. With these kinds of things, I like to put them off the beat. So, like, for example, here, you could hear it kind of hit at the same time as that main FM lead. So you almost, I mean, you hear it, but it's like, it's not the main focus. So the easiest thing there is to just shift it to a position where that main FM stab isn't playing. So it's like, it actually goes dum, like nothing on the one, on the offbeat, the FM stab, and then the thing. So it kind of like feels like a progression of stuff happening as opposed to just everything clumped onto the onbeat. In fact, we could even time it so that it's after this little progression of things here. So it's actually da 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 da. Brrps. So here we can actually also take this, do a similar thing like we did with the kick and bass, but with this loops group. And here we can use a filter to bring it in. But another thing I like to use in combination with the filter is Bit Crush. So you can also use this in the intro as well. Instead of the good old overused filtered kick and bass, you can use this kind of this technique on a filtered percussion loop. This is nice in combination with a filter that has a pretty steep resonance here. Huh. Should we make this easier and combine it? I could have just done this in a snap heap, but it doesn't really matter because we could just add a macro here. Assign this to that rate and the filter frequency at the same time. Here we could use some kind of fill, and then, whoa, that's loud. Okay, so with these, the reason why they're sort of obviously don't have filters and stuff on them is because 9 times out of 10 when I'm using this, I'll just use like a snippet of it, then add a filter, and then either sweep it up or sweep it down. But instead of creating like 5 variations of the same sample with like a sweep up, sweep down, a band part, you know what I mean? Like I just left the sample like raw without the filter sweep because it's kind of more useful in that sense. You know, you can kind of put any effect on it. It's, you know, anyway. Oh, but these we need to set to the correct tempo here. Because these were made at 142 and we're at 140. So if we want to keep the correct pitch, I usually use Stretch HD, then just punch in the tempo there and it kind of shifts everything. That kind of sounds cool that way. Maybe we can do one going down. Yeah, like that, and then a different variation. Oops. Here. Up the tempo. I forgot about the tempo. Huh? Did that stretch? Oh, it did. Just that bloops. Oh, I dig that. Oh, there's also a bunch of like ear candy, glitchy loops that are great for creating these kind of fills and stuff. Sorry, I got lost in the glitch there. Okay, well, of course we can tidy it up a little bit in terms of like volumes and that kind of thing, but I'm just going to leave it for now. We can come back to it. Sounds pretty good. Okay, folks, I just need to be right back, so please excuse me for 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and then I'll be back. I will loop this. Yeah, I will see you guys in 2 minutes. Okay, so let's say, for example, like we didn't have this. Oh, thank you. I mean, it's hopefully it's a good testament to the sample pack, because it's mostly just samples and then the techniques that I'm discussing, right? So if you have the pack, you can make literally exactly the same thing. But if you don't, I want to discuss ways of using samples and stuff like these kinds of things to in a similar way, right? So I'm obviously just going to use these samples, but let's say the sample you have is in a different key or different tempo. I showed you the tempo thing, but let's talk about the key. So it will probably be the same technique, but I mean there's various different warp modes that we can use. Let me find an example here. Okay, so we have Atmos in F. So I'm going to put these into a different group now, just to make things a bit easier. So I remember what's what. Because these now we have to adjust all of these into the correct key. So this is a context of, like, say for example you've got a bunch of stuff off Splice or some other sample pack or something, and you want to use that sample, but it's not the same pitch as the track that you're working on. So I generally suggest trying to find it as close to the key as possible. So here, for example, the track we're writing is in G, the sample is in F. So the difference is 1, 2 semitones. So if you look at your keyboard and you look at G and you look at F, your finger would walk down 1, 2 to the black note, and then down another one to the F. So there's 2 steps in between. I generally suggest trying to avoid shifting the pitch anywhere above 3 steps, because then you can kind of really start to hear the difference, right? So that's why I kind of chose a lot of the pitches and keys that I did for this pack, because it generally covers the full range. You know, there's A sharp, so then above A sharp, if we go 3 steps, it's B, C, C sharp, and then the lowest key is D sharp, and if we go down then 3 steps is D, C sharp, C. So the full range is covered within 2 to 3 semitones in the pack, right? But I generally suggest not going, not pitch shifting stuff more than that if you want it to sound natural. That being said, it's up to you. You know, you can stretch it and warp it and do whatever, because that's creativity. Just do whatever you want, right? But in the context of like a woodwind sound or like a duduk or something like that, here this phrase is A sharp. So let's put that there. And so we'll shift these differently. So here what we can do is set this Atmos F. We want to go F up 2. Let's set this to stretch HD, and then this opens up this pitch over here, and now we go 1, 2, because that's the amount of steps from F to G, right? And the track we're working on is G. So let's actually just mute this one for now, and so this Atmos should technically work because we've shifted it to 2 semitones up. Okay, so we'll need to adjust some of these settings here. The transient preservation we want off, and I generally select a large grain size. Yeah, especially with the more longer legato pads and that kind of thing, the smaller grain size and transient preservation on, you can hear that like doof, 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 doof. They're kind of like beating from the lower frequencies that are happening there. I believe this only changes these settings here. So for example, you can change that pitch detect, the transient detection here. But I think if you turn it off, this doesn't change it whatsoever. Okay, so this one, A sharp, down 1, 2, 3, down 3 semitones will get us a G. So let's go stretch HD, large grain size, turn transient preservation off. Wait, did we go up with this one? Yes, we did. So this one we want to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we combine this with like the other sample that we had here, which is actually a G. You can hear it all fits in nicely. I just realized the reason it fits in so nicely is because the samples are friggin' soloed. Wait a sec. I might just eat my words. Hold on. Of course, everything's gonna sound like it works together when something is soloed. Oh my hat. We've all done it, folks. We've all done it. So with these kinds of things, you often don't want to just go straight full 100% into the break like that, right? Electrix, how you doing, bro? You usually want to kind of announce that something is about to happen. And there's various ways that we can do that, like with a downlifter kind of effect, an uplifter effect, although uplifters tend to kind of suggest that you're going into like a peak, right? Whereas a downlifter tends to suggest that things are kind of calming down a bit, which is what you want, right? Another way is just doing some kind of splash effect or actually writing the melody so that it resolves in such a way. But that's obviously a lot more technically musical. What I like to do is to play with a bit of all of the effects, right? So we can adjust the melody a little bit. We can add a bit more delays and stuff to the melody so that it kind of starts to echo out and starts to suggest that we're cooling down a little bit, right? Let's just think about this, because we have this kind of micro break happening here. Here what we can do is some kind of splash effect. There we go. hey, Kabalex. A while since I accidentally caught a live stream again, even though I've watched every single one for many years. Hey, thank you. Another thing that I like to do with these different warp modes is, like here, for example, we can combine some downlifters. So these two run about the same length, but what we can do is we can stretch one of them so that the first one kind of like splashes into a sort of longer sort of release, if that makes sense. Let's actually just solo both of these. So the one has that kind of vocal thing going on there. Let's go warp modes. We can actually play with different ones as well. These elastiques are pretty cool. But let's just stick with the granular HD for now. We can also play with the transient detection and stuff, but here let's just start to stretch it out by changing this tempo up and then pulling out the end of the sample here, and we can kind of play with it this way. Aphex Twin. And then also a filter on the kick and bass is a nice way of introducing them, breakdowns. So these I tend to be a bit more subtle and try kind of match it as close to the original signal as possible. So here, let's go with an EQ as opposed to a filter, because the filters tend to sound a bit more resonant. So here, you can hear a very slight difference because there's the EQ, but you know, there's a bit of phase shift, but it's so subtle compared to the filter, which is obviously a lot more drastic. So with these kind of filter out things, I'll tend to do it this way as opposed to use a filter, but it depends. If you want a more drastic curve or resonance, you can use a filter as well. Okay, so that sounds cool, right? But then if we just shift this like a beat or two later, for some reason, it just sounds 1,000,000 times better. Scientifically proven 1,000,000 times. Or some kind of like one shot here in the break. So I like that kind of offset. So let's try this. Oh wait, so some break into the silence and then ping, beat. There we go. Hey Masika, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. That I do. I want to. I wanna get into games. I wanna get into games. I think films is one of those things where it's quite hard to crack into unless you're like in Hollywood and sitting with a director in the studio and that kind of thing, because it's such a fast-paced environment. From what I've heard, I mean, I'm like on the other side of the world. But games is something I definitely want to get into because it's a lot more accessible, I think, for sound designers. I already do, like, I mess around a lot with Unreal Engine and stuff. Like, I know most of how the sound engine and stuff works in Unreal, so I could potentially. So if you know anybody who's making a game and it's the kind of vibe that you think suits the sounds I make, let me know. Hey, Fine Noise, how's it going? Okay, so we could even put like a delay on here. Delay plus, stereo ping pong, lots of feedback. Let's try this out. It's the tough reality we live in, Andrew J. The thing is, though, like, you can kind of hear it straight away when AI is used in the sound in games. I feel like sound is one of those, like, things that has a lot of, like, anomalies that, like, we maybe can't explain. It's like a psychoacoustic thing that happens because our ears are so sensitive, or, like, we don't even know it. So, like, I think maybe it's just so obvious. Obviously, technology is going to get better. It's going to get less and less obvious. But, like, usually if I hear, like, a voice in a game that's AI generated, it's like, I'm not going to sit and listen to that, like, monotonous tone throughout the whole game. I just mute. That being said, it's like I haven't heard that many examples, but, like, I've seen videos with these examples and you can hear, and it's just like, nah, it sounds really bad and really monotonous. And it kind of takes away the whole, for me, it's like either have a voice actor because that person adds the emotion to the character and the depth, or I'll just read the script on the screen and listen to some tunes in the background. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if the sound's not going to be good, I'll just turn it off and listen to tunes, you know? Anyway. Yeah, as much as it is a thing, like, there are more and more games are using AI for audio. I'm not so sure about movies yet. I feel like on that level, like, if we think about, like, the teams of audio engineers in Hollywood and stuff. Like, imagine a team of sound engineers at that level. I reckon it'll be easier to prompt them to make a sound that you're asking for that goes above and beyond than to prompt AI and kind of just keep, oh no, try again, oh no, try again, oh no, try again. And the whole time it's kind of spitting up junk until eventually it hits something good. I reckon it's just easier, obviously more expensive to pay personnel, but I think on that level it's just easier to prompt a team of like musicians or audio engineers, and they'll just create the sound exactly how you want it, you know. And then also the director's often sitting there, and it's like a process where they work together, you know. I feel like that doesn't really allow for that. Maybe I got it wrong though. Maybe I got it totally wrong. Like I said, I'm on the other side of the world, so I don't know how Hollywood operates. That's my thing, is like on that level where they can just throw blank checks at sound and hire like a team of like 20 or 30 of the best, that has a team leader of like somebody like Hans Zimmer or whatever. That person then just, like, the director prompts Hans, and Hans is like, okay, you give me this sound, you give me that, and together it's a better experience, I think, than just prompting an AI thing. Although, to be honest, actually, I'm trying to think now what it was. There was some Netflix documentary, and instead of blurring out the people's faces, they added AI, and it was so weird to watch. So it's actually not just sound; it's the audio, the visuals as well. Like some kind of weird uncanny thing which the eye can just see, you know. And instead of blanking out the people's faces, they like used AI to recreate another face on top. It's such a stupid idea. Because now people are like, oh wait, that's the person. Anyway, it's said on the screen, but bizarre. What a world we live in. Oh yeah, there's also a bunch of these. So I looked at the sweeps. There's also a bunch of these sequenced delays. This is basically like a quick melody or something with some kind of delay or some kind of big effect on it. And so these are really good in a part like this, for example, where you have a spacey thing going on. You just want to fill up the space with some sound. And they also work well reversed as like riser kind of things. Okay, folks, I think I've got to call it there. I've got somewhere I need to be. I've pretty much gone through everything. The rest I'll leave up to you guys to discover. I've gone through a bunch of techniques. Patreons, the usual discount. So if you are interested, go through the Patreon portal, and you'll get your usual discount that way. Yeah, I think that's about where I'm going to call it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you want more of this kind of stuff, like just easy intro sample packs and that kind of thing, also let me know. I think it's a cool addition to the arsenal, alright? I've got all these preset packs for Serum and everything. I've got the drum packs, and so you can make all the loops and everything like that, but the intro is something I feel like a lot of people struggle with. Like, we all have hundreds and hundreds of loops and stuff saved on our PC where we've just started a groove or started a main part or started a drop, but it's just missing like that little bit of context that can just turn it into a full track, right? And so I feel like this is a good addition to the arsenal of, you know, products or whatever that I have on the store, because it's mostly preset packs, it's mostly sample packs, and like this is, so it's a special sample pack. It's kind of more for those intros, themes, breakdowns. It's to fill in the gaps of everything else, right? Anyway, folks, that's where I will leave it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. That was really awesome. Such a good session. I had fun. I hope you folks learnt a couple of things. Hope you enjoyed the new products or the new loop and sample pack. This is a weird thing. Have you guys picked this up where sometimes Bitwig will just bug out and set like a maximum zoom size? I don't know what's up with this. And then like the zoom sometimes just bugs out. Do any of you guys have that? What's your workaround? I usually just close and get back in, but I mean, sometimes I just carry on working, but it's a bit of a pain. Yeah, anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to loop this once or twice for everyone if you want to stick around and listen to what we've made throughout the whole track, or if you want to hear a bunch of stuff from the pack. See you guys next time. Have a good weekend. Oh wait, let's go back to the beginning. Cheers. See you guys next time.
you.